What up, YouTubers? This is EvanForGrips.com, continuing with the Betfair Bankroll Challenge. At the end of the last three-part session, the bankroll was sitting at $1,180.17, which was some very good progress in the last session. We were able to pick up 3 buy-ins in about an hour and a half, which is a very good result. Now, that was largely due to the fact that I exercised extremely good game selection and put myself in some very profitable positions, both game-wise and seat-wise. Also, a big change I made last session was only playing 6 tables as opposed to the 12 that I'd been playing in previous videos. So what I did before the start of this session was I went through the lobby and I looked for all the tables that had a flop percentage of 33% or greater, and then did my best to get on those games. Now, I have seats on about, I think 10 games right now, and I'm going to decide which of these are the best ones to play. Now we can see that the players per flop has dropped a bit on some of them, which means probably that the weak player at the table got busted. Now, what we got to do is figure out which tables still have really soft spots on them and focus on those games exclusively. So let's see what tables I want to play. Just checking the lobby. Which ones have significantly dropped this? Ooh, that's going to be a good game. Okay. Bring this one over. And I think I will ditch this one and go with these 6. See how this goes. Alright, cool. Now if at any point I notice that one of the games loses the mark, or the mark at the table is bad but not terribly bad, I'm probably going to go ahead and sub that game out for a different one. Also, if I notice that I have some really tough players on my left, like on table 1 where I have Phoenix 12, who was a real thorn in my side 2 sessions ago, I might go ahead and leave that table. When you have a very tough player, or in this case 2 really aggressive tough players on your direct left, it's going to make your life very difficult. Your session's going to be very frustrating, and you're going to be much more likely to go on tilt. When that's something that's in play, the obvious thing to do is to try to get off those tables and get out of those situations where you think you may be, in a less than ideal spot when it comes to profitability. So I'm also going to be constantly looking at the lobby, looking for new games that are starting, because that's where the easiest money is going to be found. Sit out, probably a fish. I can't stress enough how important game selection is, and that's why it's something I cover in every single video that I do. It's going to be, wow, ace-6 suited. Give me king! Damn. So I'd imagine that table 6 is going to fall apart pretty quickly now. The dude who got it in with ace-6 off was clearly the fish for a full 100 big blinds. He just, wow. Just called a 3-bet and then shoved when checked to with nothing. Wow, it's a good spot. Hopefully he reloads. It's sweet to have someone like that still in the mix. But if he doesn't, we'll just bring in one of the replacement games that we have on reserve. And I'm actually really looking at table 1. I think that it's going to be an annoying game to be playing on. I know that, like, I can't even open these deuces because there are 2 guys whose 3-bet stats are just massive. And I can't really continue with deuces facing a re-raise. I don't want to 4-bet it. It's a terrible hand to be 4-betting with. And at the same time, calling a re-raise out of position with a small pair is a very bad idea and is going to put you in some very tough spots. So, not really liking that table. I imagine I can find a better one to bring over. This one looks alright. Okay. Table 5. I have a donk bet after this player defended, and we did flop a pair, which means we have equity in this pot, and we're not just gonna fold to a flop bet. On one hand, we could have the best hand, which means folding would be a disaster, and on another hand, we have probably 5 outs to improve if we don't have the best hand. Now, when he continues to bet again, pretty heavy, I'm gonna let it go. I don't have enough information on this guy yet to know whether he's the type to just fire away as a bluff. And there's only a way to... Wow! Opening for fucking 10x on table 3. Pocket 8's not a hand that I wanna go with there. Wow, we get a 4-bet. Okay, Jack's in the muck on table 4. God, that guy 3-bet, 5-bet 9s. Let's make a note. 3-bet, 5-bet, 9-9. Squeeze spot, facing, cut, hijack, raise. That's going to be a very good note to have because, you know, we can, with jacks there, it's difficult to decide whether or not you want to stack off with the hand. Ooh. New fish, new game. Table 6 has fallen apart, but fortunately we have a new table 6 to bring over. Alright. Yeah, with pocket jacks there, it's tough to know whether you should go with your hand or not when you're just facing a squeeze in that situation. But now that we saw Peter is willing to go broke with 9s there, especially when the initial raiser 4-bets, it's going to be much easier to know that jacks are just a premium hand and we can consider them the nuts and go with it when that spot comes up again. Now, we lost our fish, Ocerno, so that game's going to break, and y'all know what we do when that happens. We bring over a replacement, but I'm going to let you guys see what happens with these pocket kings first, of course, because you're like, Rips, waiting for a big hand we finally got one. You can't just take the game away right now. We want to see what happens. You guys can see what happens. No problem. I'm probably just going to 3-bet them. Huh? Okay. Turned, but now it's straight draw against overpair. I will lead and hope that he check back with air and limped with a weak hand that is not going to continue. Cool. Took it down. Okay, let's bring in the replacement. And when I take a table off the screen, I don't just, immediately sit out. If you've posted both a big and a small blind, it doesn't make sense to leave the table until you've seen all your free hands. So even if you're planning on leaving a table, you should still wait until the blinds come around and take advantage of the fact that you've paid for these 5, 6 hands. You might as well get the full value for the money you've invested. Game started, so keep our eye on that. As I said in the last video, the new games that form are usually going to be the ones that have the most value on them. And perfect example is one I'll bring over in a minute. Okay, ace-king on table 3. I think doesn't need to be discussed that it's a raise, but we will raise it. Fairly dry flop on table 4. We flopped 2 overcards to the board, so we're going to c-bet. And when the king comes on the turn, that's a scare card. We're going to keep betting and hope that we can move him off an 8 by the river, if that's what he called the flop with. He's calling very fast, which usually means a weakish hand. I got to bet big and just hope that he concedes the pot. Flush draw missed, so that's another part of his range that he will fold. But it also means, if we had a flush draw, we missed. I'm not going to say too much right now because I'm just sweating whether or not this bet's going to get through. And with ace-queen, he turned to king. Well, that makes sense that he would call down. With the ace-queen on table 6, I'm just going to check call down. If he has a worse ace, I'm going to let him keep value betting it, so he's value cutting himself. And if he's bluffing, I don't want to raise and, take his bluffs out of his range. Alright, I call. That was pretty lucky. Did not see that one coming. So, not the best start to today's session, but that's not a big deal. You're not going to win every pot you play. You're not going to come out of the gate crushing every time. And it's just important to keep your composure, keep your cool, and just continue to play good poker. Because if you continue to make good decisions, you will see yourself making money most of the time that you play. 45 VPIP table. Wow, that table looks really soft. Normally, I would shy away from speed tables because I constantly time out, and that's very annoying for me. But that was also when we were doing sessions where I was playing like 12 tables, where obviously it's going to be tough to keep up with that kind of action. I think with just 6 tables in the mix, it should be easy enough to keep up with the speed table. We got a 40 VPIP table that we'll keep our eye on. And what else? Jonah's getting the exclamation mark. I mean, he opened for 4x with deuce 6 suited. That's just bad. And I think he was on the button, so it like makes it less bad, but it's just a pretty weak hand. If he's getting involved with those kind of holdings pre-flop, he's going to be ending up losing a lot of money on later streets. But I'm happy he didn't go for the all-in bet on the river, because I don't imagine I was going to fold to it, and that means he missed out on some value. Oh, come on, bro. How are you going to limp in and then just fold when I have 2 kings? Yo, a dick, Jonah. Yo, a dick. And another table starting to break, but keep the screen full with 6 tables. No need to instantly leave a game just because it's starting to get shorthanded. If you're multi-tabling and you're playing a lot of games, so it's going to be tough to keep up with all the action you have, I would recommend leaving a game as soon as it starts to get short. But if you can actually pay attention to what's going on, then not a big deal. Okay, so Kate is calling here pre-flop. Now he or she, more likely a he. He's not going to be calling that wide pre-flop. Pocket pairs and strong suited connectors is what I imagine his range consists of. So if I bet, I just fold out all the hands that I've beat and get the hands that beat me to continue. So that's why I just check the flop, planning to check call. Same with the middle pair top kicker and a gut shot on table 5. So we'll check call the turn and hope the river goes check check. If he is to bet again, probably going to assume he has a better hand than us. But we'll see. Things can always change in the moment. I'm going to go for a value bet on table 5. Hope to get called by like a jack 9, king jack, maybe even an ace 10. I'm willing to put in 2 bets when I flop mid pair top kicker in a button versus big blind situation anyway. So, one sec, I just got to see what this guy's 3-bet in position versus early position open is. And it's pretty low, so I don't need to go hog wild there. So given that I'd be willing to check call the river anyway, I think he's going to call with more hands that we have beat than he would bet himself if we check to him. So given that we're willing to put in a bet anyway, we might as well do it in a fashion that gets us paid off by the widest range of hands. And the action slows a little bit, which is always nice when we're trying to find some replacement games. Whoa. Exclamation mark for you. Exclamation mark for you. Sit out, opening. Decent amount of hands. Jack 10 suited is a hand that flops very well, so I like to include it in my 3-bet bluffing range. In general, you don't want to be 3-betting exclusively with value hands. You want to have some bluffs in there too, and Jack 10 suited is one of the best hands for doing that with. So we'll just fire a C-bet here, maintain the aggression from pre-flop, and hope that our opponent missed the board. Getting good odds on a continuation bet. Once he calls on that flop, I think he's got reasonably good holdings, so we'll just give up here. Oh no, I missed a seat. Alright, nice hand. It was the one hand I may have been able to get him off of by taking the suicide line of betting the flop, checking the turn, and betting the river. But good to know that he's calling 3-bets in those positions with ace-9 suited. I think that's pretty ambitious on his part. Okay, 8s will call, 9-10 suited, fire a C-bet. And 7-9 suited on table 6, we're going to open strictly because the main player in the game that we're targeting is in the big blind. And I think for this session I might actually not even bother opening hands like 9-10 suited from early position. People play reasonably well in position, and so you don't want to be opening too wide. Okay, double gut shots on table 6. It's a hand we're going to bet and not going to be folding to a raise. Table 1, ace-6 suited is a hand we would like to isolate the fishy player with. He's playing 77% of hands, and ace-6 suited is definitely going to fare fine against that range of holdings. Oh, there's a new game with 66% players per flop. It's got to be a good spot. And Calgary is falling apart, so wha-bam. Out with the old, in with the new. Yeah, I noticed from the other challenge videos that opening speculative hands from early position in tougher games just really isn't necessary. It's... whoa. Didn't want to put down top pair. It's something that's going to get you into a lot of trouble, playing those pots out of position. And I'm going to 3-bet this queen-9 suited on table 2. And this is a really good spot for Oh My God Funny Name to be isolating with a wide range of holdings, and currently his fold to 3-bet is 100%. Now that's on a small sample size, and it's obviously going to change as things progress, but until it changes, this is going to be a really good spot to just be 3-betting with anything that has some flopability, and queen-9 suited definitely makes the cut. Looks like Martine went broke with a flush draw, to be expected from a fishy player type. We got a new game to replace the one that's going to break. Didn't uncheck auto post in time, but that's okay. These things happen. Check calling once on table 2 is definitely an option, but I'm just going to play really selective when it comes to the post-flop decisions. And just kind of be like a post-flop nit. That way when we get a lot of money in, it's probably going to be when we have the best hand. Something worth mentioning about the small and medium suited connectors and the pocket pairs is that they're hands that, you know, they look very good. They're very tempting to play every time someone's dealt a pair or a suited connector. They want to see a flop. They want to continue. And it's important to accept that the hands are only playable and profitable in certain situations. It's not like every time you get dealt a pair, it's a must play, or every time you get dealt a suited connector, it's a must play. Under very specific circumstances, they can be extremely profitable. Under other circumstances, they can be slightly profitable, and it's up to you to identify when those circumstances are in play. For those of you who are curious about what those circumstances may be, I recommend watching both the video entitled The Triple Threat, available on my YouTube channel, and also the video entitled The Preflop Checklist. If you familiarize yourself with the information in both of those videos, you will be very good at finding optimal situations to get involved with your various types of hands. We're going to isolate with the Jack-9 suited on table 6, and we're going to punish the limper on table 3 with the King-10 offsuit. King-Queen on table 4 is a perfectly good hand to be raising in the cutoff, and let's see what happens. Okay. Table 3, hopefully he missed the board and we can take it down with a c-bet. We're getting a very good price, and this is a pretty dry board that he's going to be missing pretty often. Table 6, we flop top 2 pairs, so we're going to try to get some money in the middle, obviously. Ah, someone went for a reset and I didn't catch it. Such a noob. Okay. We got a caller. And if he has a 5, he's got me. I don't imagine folding. But I want to continue betting to extract value from his flush draws. That will probably call another bet, and if he has a jack, he will also probably call again. So you got to try to extract some value in that situation. Now it appears that Jonah, yeah, he's bad enough. I was gonna say his stats aren't that bad playing 36-15, but someone just got beat by a set. Unlucky. And the game breaks. Standard. Oof. Got a guy on the other screen with a VPIP of 92. Now, I have direct position on him because I caught the game as it was starting, so I should be able to extract some value from this guy. I think he might have been the guy that I stacked last night in the vid, actually. Who knows? Okay, King-Queen suited. Perfectly fine hand to 3-bet with on table 4. And table 3, we're going to be doing the same thing that we did when we had King-10. Except this time we don't want him to fold. And actually, since it's fairly unlikely that he has an ace anyway, and he'll probably fold to a c-bet, I'm going to check back to give him a chance to bluff off on later streets and give us some value from a hand that would have just folded if we bet the flop. Wow, 2-pair again. Pretty sweet. Call. River's pretty clean on table 3. I'd imagine I'm going to call a river bet. He doesn't bet, so I'm going to bet something small to get him to call with as wide a range as possible. I want to try to get value from a hand as weak as a 7, and the only way to do that is to bet small. Okay, and we got some. Okay, flopped a pretty good draw. Pretty good draw. Table 6. I'm going to try to take control of the pot. This guy's trying to steal with the donk bet, and I'm not trying to have any of that. I want to be in the lead in this hand, in terms of the betting lead. Interesting turn card, because I think the most likely hand for him to have when he donk bets the flop is a king. And when the ace comes, if I go bet turn, bet river, I should be able to get him off a king. It depends how stubborn he is, how fishy he is, but I'm going to take my chances here. If he has a hand as strong as 2-pair, he's obviously not folding, or if he donk bet with the ace high flush draw in clubs and now improved to top pair, he's probably not folding, but when you get the perfect scare card, you get, he backed into, well, that would explain why he called the turn so fast. Unlucky river. Rolling the dice here with jacks. Take it down. So it was unlucky that he backed into a flush there, because that's not a hand we're going to be able to get him to fold. But if he had any other king, I think on that river we probably could have got him out. Now on table 3, when Christy BB checks, I think I can safely assume that top pair, top kicker is going to be the best hand, so I'm going to bet for value on both the turn and the river. Hope to get called by a worse jack or a pocket tens type hand, and for 50 cents on the river, I'm just not buying it. I'm going to treat that as a block bet that is hoping to get a cheap showdown, and I'm going to raise for value. Nice, we got him. And on table 1, I just check the flop to mix it up with ace-king. I look like I have a hand that was kind of like pot controlling, marginal ace. Might be able to get looked up here by a queen or a worse ace. Now if he were to raise this river, I have to give him credit for having backed into a flush, and I cannot call. Well, I could call, I just have to click the call button, but I don't think it's the best idea. So I'm betting with the intention of folding to a raise here, but expecting to get called by many worse hands than my top pair, top kicker. Wow, this game looks good. Guy with the exclamation mark, a guy with the X and an underscore and a number in his name, and the players per flop is 38%. Just keep a close eye on that table, and hopefully I can get on it pretty soon. And it looks like Palusha already blasted off his money. I didn't see how it happened, but I assume he did something stupid. So given that he plays 90% of hands, I'm perfectly comfortable getting all in with ace-10 against him, especially in a three-handed situation. What you got, bro? Jack-5 suited. Good luck. So he had a 9, and he didn't feel like folding. Oh no, he just got it all in pre-flop. Wow. 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 That's worthy of a note. Min, 3-bet, pre-flop, J5S, call, all in. 100 big blinds. That's a good note to have, because that is a very profitable situation. To have a player who is just willing to call all in with any 2 cards pre-flop. Yeah. Definitely a good spot. And I guess White Knight is going to wait to see whether or not Palusha comes back. He doesn't want to play heads up with me, which is fair. Playing heads up is a lot of variance, and if you think you're up against an opponent who has similar skill level to you, or maybe better than you, it doesn't really make sense to take that variance when there's so many other good profitable spots out there that you can be taking advantage of. You're wasting a lot of your attention and focus on a heads up match that is going to require a lot more, thinking, and is going to take away from your